Hi guys, this is Joe from Domain Academy, and as you can see from the leaderboard, I am getting pretty soundly beaten in the Domain Academy domain sales contest. I'm currently sitting in fourth place with only 2 sales. I have a strategy that does not appear to be working right away with my outbound, although I am confident that my names will sell and I will be profitable. But one of the things that I did is I just picked a couple alternative TLDs. And I think that this would be a healthy exercise to go through because I tend to teach that you should buy.com, and that is in the vast majority of cases the TLD that sells. When you're thinking about alternative TLDs, they have to be really strong. But I'm going to take you through the Gilmore.io purchase, the resources that I used, and I'm going to show you how I made the decision to ultimately pull the trigger on this. It's $53.99, which is 10% of my total starting budget. That's a pretty significant purchase for a domain name in this contest. So I want to show you why I pulled the trigger on this one. I'm going to show you using Domain Academy's tools. One of the things that is great about Domain Academy is that you can go to domainacademy.com/tools, and as long as you're a DDC Discount Domain Club Pro member, you have access to these tools. We have 10 proprietary tools that help you to evaluate and put a value on your name. So, and I'm looking through names to decide if I want to bid or buy them. I usually run them through these tools. This is our research snapshot. What this does is this grabs a ton of information and pulls it all together from various data sources on the web and makes it in one easily digestible screen. So what I'm looking for here is how many TLDs are taken for this. Now, you can see the different TLDs here. You can see down here how many the exact match are taken. So there's 58 other ones, and you can see that there's 990 other SLDs that contain it. So it could be like Michael Gilmore from ParkLogic. So it could be michaelgilmore.com, or it could be My Gilmore or whatever. They contain those names in them. So this is a little low, and it's typically not something that I would pull the trigger on. 58, I'm usually looking for 100 or more in my purchase decision. That's just a personal number that I set up. But we can see that there's a decent amount of search volume for this, that people are advertising on it. You can click this to look up the ads and see how many ads are in there right now and put that in as that varies. It's a one-word name. It's a personal name. So those are some things that are important. It passes the radio test, although I would say that that's kind of another thing that I had to think through when I purchased this, because there is another way to spell Gilmore, M-O-R-E, instead of M-O-U-R, and you can use our How Many People tool, which I'll show you in a bit, to kind of flesh that out. So we've got a lot of tools to identify the potential in this. And one of the things that, on the good side, let's start looking at the good side. There's 23 startups that are using Gilmore, right? And when you look at the company count, there's 500 companies that are using this name. So when we go over, we can see these are the TLDs that are in use, or excuse me, are registered. These are the startups that are using Gilmore in their name. Gilmore Space Technologies, that seems like a great fit for a .io. When you're looking at the alternative extensions, the non-com extensions, you want to make sure that the TLD and SLD, so before and after the dot, match up. Like Joe.ai, that means that everyone who's going there would think, oh, this is an AI play. If I was at Joe.org, they would think it's an organization, right? Maybe a nonprofit or even crypto organization. If I'm using IO, it's typically used in the tech space or in the startup arena. So the fact that it has some tech companies and that it has a decent amount of startups is a very big positive for me. You can go to the For Sale tab, and this will pull in what other Gilmore names are for sale. Out of those 58 that are registered, we've got 4 and what their prices are, right? So Gilmore.co, Gilmore.group.us, and .capital. I would think that the IO is better than these other ones. Co, it would be the closest comp, I would say. So someone has Gilmore.co available for $5,000, and I paid $50 for this name. The other thing that I think is a really key differentiator with this is you can look at our Domain Explorer tool, and you can put Gilmore in here. And what that's going to do is show you those 58 and the other 990 listed out. One of the key things that I look at is this really in use in commerce? And with Gilmore, the 58 names are being used in commerce. So this is a really key point when you're looking at a name to purchase. So when I can click these TLDs and I can see that there's a hose company. I can see that, some of these, as I start to click them, you'll see that they come to actual websites. Some don't. This is why it's good to click these, because you'll see what is actually in use. We try and give you an idea of what's in use by green, what's inactive, so it'll come up with like an error. I'll show you like an error page like this, and then what's for sale, and we looked at those already. When we look at these, many times you're going to see that these alternative extensions are not in use, or that somebody bought all of them. So I have a business called Gilmore, and I also bought the com, net, org, biz, info, us, all these different TLDs to protect it, and it all goes to the same place. These are all in use, and they're in use by different people, right? So there's a couple that didn't come up, but you can see that there are a decent amount when I start clicking around that are actually being used. And just for brevity, I'm going to skip clicking on all these, but I clicked on a lot of these 2-word or longer Gilmores, like Gilmore Group, Rob Gilmore. I clicked on a lot of these different types of names, and almost all of them that I clicked on are being used in real commerce, or there's a real website on them. So that tells me that there's a giant demand for Gilmore, and these names might want to upgrade to a shorter name. So one of the other positives for Gilmore is that it's a 1-word. And so all these Patrick Gilmore, Chris Gilmore, Darcy Gilmore, they might all want to just upgrade to just Gilmore, right? Or Gilmore Group might just want to be Gilmore. So there's the potential for an upgrade, even though it's not to a .com. That .com is taken. It's in use by a pretty big company, and it's not going to probably be sold. So that limits your competition in resale. That's another key factor that you want to look at when you're looking to invest in a domain name. So I have a .io, right? And maybe I'd want the .com, but it's in use and it's probably not going to be sold. So that means that people, if they want the 1-word, have less choices to be able to buy that 1-word name. And now I have one of them, and I have one that's in a top-selling TLD. So Aftermarket, Cedo, different marketplaces release every year, sometimes every month, the TLDs that sell most frequently, and IO is up there. You're not going to see like a .tax up there on the resale group as a popular TLD. So that's another point that's going for this. IO is a name that is often resold in the aftermarket. So I've got these positives that I think really make a big difference when I look at this name. I can pull too on our valuation worksheet some comps. And so Darby.io came from Park.io, and that is a wholesale marketplace. So it's an auction. So this went for $825 wholesale. Claude.io, this sold in 2024 for $748. I think that this probably was also a wholesale price. And I think that Claude AI would be someone who'd want to pick up a name like this. But it's a great name. Again, probably a wholesale price. I just marked that incorrectly. Stefan, first name, Harriet. So these in the wholesale marketplaces, and this is probably a retail, Wilbur, are selling for much more than the $50 that I paid for my name. So again, that shows me that I'm getting a good deal. So I've got all these potential buyers that I could reach out to. One of the other places I can look is in the startups and reach out to maybe these potential buyers who might want to upgrade. I think this one's a great fit. Gilmore Space Technologies seems like it would fit right in. Right now you can see what name they're operating on, which is gspacetech.com. Gilmore.io would be a great name for them to use. You can see the founder is Adam Gilmore, and James Gilmore is the director. So I think that they might like having their name. So this is a great tool to be able to use to find prospective buyers. To wrap it all up, I used a lot of our tools to really analyze this. And while there were some red flags or things that would make me dig deeper, there was much more potential upside for a name like this than downsides. And I got a really good deal on it. I was able to get it at the $5 closeouts and only had to pay a $48 renewal. So that saved me some money and gives me a lot of room, which is another thing that we teach on Domain Academy, which is make sure you're making money on the buy. When we look at these prices here on wholesale, I am buying well underneath the normal wholesale market for first or last name IOs, so single name IOs. Oh, and I also promised you we would look at this, the two spellings. I'm going to look on the how many people tool, which is only going to show population in the United States that use this name. And as you can see, it's very popular in Australia. So we're missing a lot of people. And also there was British companies that were using this spelling. But you can see that there's 2,600 people using this last name. And we wanted to look at the alternative spelling to see which is more popular. In the US, Gilmore, O-R-E, is more popular. So that's another thing that you want to take into account. If we were picking up Gilmore, O-R-E, instead of O-U-R, then we'd have more potential people that would want to buy this name. So those things impact pricing as well. But overall, I think this was a great pickup. We'll see. Time will tell if I can make up some ground on the leaderboard with this domain name. Thanks for watching. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Ask any questions that you've got in the comments and check us out on domainacademy.com.